This is a video journal from August 2019 where I was trying to address some issues that I was having with Tornado's training. And the two primary issues were under saddle. He would do two things. He would sort of drift off or deke out and kind of resist my steering cues. And he would also bite at my leg when he got upset. He would throw little tantrums, essentially. And I did rule out physical issues and tack issues over this has been going on for over a year. And so I did quite a bit of investigation to try to figure out why these behaviors were happening. But didn't yield any results from that. So I did start to focus on it as a training issue and see where we could get. And I got the help of a coach, which was immensely helpful to get some ideas on what could be going on and what some ideas were to address the situation. So the plan was to really reduce the number of behaviors that I was asking for in a ride. So I focused on steering and the trot transition cue and build up from there. So the first thing I did was set up a little cone obstacle, serpentine obstacles, and we did it first at the walk, first from the ground, and then at the walk. And I would just walk through, and every turn he would make, I would click and treat. And we did that for a couple of rides until that was pretty solid, and I could start to sequence a couple of turns in a row before I clicked and treated. I would also work on a circle, and I would use the reverse round pen to kind of guide the circle to work on some bending. And then I also started rewarding the trot cue right away. So I would ask for the trot, and the minute that he would go into the trot, even just organize his body to get into the trot, he didn't even have to do one stride, I would click and treat. So I'd do that, say 10 times in a ride, and I would count how many times he successfully responded to the cue. And I would also pay attention to latency and what I'm calling the undesirable behaviors, which is going off to the side or nipping. So two things happened while I worked through this program, and one was great, which was that his stats for cue response went way up. So at the beginning, he had a 40% success rate at responding to the trot cue, and after about 3 rides, he was at 100%. He would respond every single time. However, the other things that went up were the deking and the nipping behavior. And so I did have a plan for the deking, which was I did a blocking rein. So I would sort of go as if to turn him, and if he was going the wrong direction and wouldn't stop going that direction, I would just hold on to the flap of the saddle and hold the rein in position. So I wasn't pulling back, but I was holding it, and then I would release it when he would get back on track. So I would consider this negative reinforcement myself, but I really needed a way to start getting a handle on that behavior. And that actually was very effective. I thought he would react poorly to it, so I did it sort of on a trial basis, but he actually reacted really well, and the dekes diminished to almost nothing really quickly. So I kept track of the stats. I counted every time, and so that was how I was able to tell that I was making progress, even though I was seeing quite a few behaviors that I wasn't happy about. I was just kind of noting them, and I carried on the course to see if they started to diminish, which they did. One of the most significant predictors of the walking sideways deking behavior that I discovered was my focus. If I lost focus at all during the ride, or didn't have a plan for the next thing. So I finished one activity and wasn't going straight into the next one. He would go out sideways. So that was a really important learning for me, and something that I'm really curious to see as I move forward, whether I can eliminate that behavior completely by keeping a really razor focus in my own riding.
Nice, good boy.
For every ride, I made a plan for that ride, and I was adding duration and chaining, and also counting cue responses and undesirable behavior, and took track of the stats. I had trot transition up to 71%, up to 76%, left turn, right turn, counting any nips and drifts out to the side, and found that if I kept the rides really short, things went a lot better. So that was good, and probably had a lot to do with my focus. And also that the undesirable behaviors were dropping, and the cue response was increasing. So I was really pleased with that. And what you're watching now is the result, the final ride, which was only 9 rides later. And I'm so pleased with the way he's carrying himself, his attitude, and his responsiveness is just so much improved over just a 3-week period.